maybe 2 o'clock. Just take a video.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome everybody to this meeting of the council, January 22nd, 2025. We're starting about on time. Looks like it's 6 o'clock. And I'd like to first acknowledge that the meeting is taking place in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are live streaming this meeting. So before we start, I'd like to let you know that today's meeting is being streamed live on the Town of Annapolis World YouTube channel. So to those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the council, you're consenting to having your image, voice, comments recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the CIO have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming, which we've never had to do, thank heavens. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. So call this meeting to order. We have all members of council present, and in the gallery, did you get a list of everyone?
They should have signed in.
Okay, there's a sign-in sheet, so thank you all for coming. There are no changes to the agenda. So unless there are, sorry. Oh, yes, thank you, Adele, Councillor McDonald. Our owl is defective today, so for those of you who are joining on YouTube, we apologize. We have the new owl, but it is in the process of some assembly, and hopefully we'll get it working soon. So we apologize for any image or sound issues. So hearing no changes to the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. And if there are no changes to the minutes of December 18th, 2024, hearing no changes, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. And we're very happy today to have a presentation from the Annapolis Rural Nursing Home Rebuild Project. Ramsey Duff is here, he's CAO, and Tamara Halliday, welcome, Director of Finance. And they brought somebody with them who nobody knows. Dr. Buckles. Yes. I think we all know Dr. Buckles. Thank you for being here. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the Ramsey Duff, CEO of the organization, and Dr. Buckles and Tamara are local at our local home. I was asked to come before council to provide an update on what is known as the rebuild project for the Annapolis Rural Nursing. There is a presentation I'd like to share with you. The presentation will be available for public members also. So with your permission, I'd like to quickly go through that. I am very well aware there's a time limitation and that you probably have some questions at the end. So if I am going too fast, please stop me. It's not out of disrespect. It's just try to respect everybody's time.
Thank you.
I'm just going to share screen now. The rebuild project itself, our company has 14 locations across Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI. We have approximately 1,300 employees and a little over 850 residents. We're one of the larger operators in Nova Scotia. The project itself has been approved by the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care, provincial department responsible for long-term care in the province. So we are talking about replacing long-term care licensed beds, which is essentially what we have here in Annapolis now. It is called a rebuild in the sense that it's intended to, quote, replace the existing facility, but the actual continuation of the facility has not been determined yet. In my personal opinion, and you will not find this on a matter of record with the province or anyone else, it's my personal opinion that that building is still has many years of useful life, and the province is highly likely to either continue the existing operation or ask for it to be perhaps renovated to evolve to other services. But I do expect that that home will probably continue life either in its current form or some other type of care or service. I have a little bit of an agenda here, and I'll just quickly run through them. These are our locations in Nova Scotia. Those highlight points are the rebuild projects that we have throughout the province. This is not the only project we're doing. We recently opened the Mahone Bay nursing home this past summer. It was also a 96-bed facility. That's the size of the facility we're building here in Annapolis. And as I mentioned, we opened it this past summer. 96 beds, all single rooms, all with private baths. There'll be pretty considerable jump in employment, something in the range of 40 to 60 additional employees are anticipated. Right now, the project will start the planning stage in 2027 to be in the ground for 2028, approximately 3 years to build it, to be opened in 2032. That's the official planning guidelines that have been announced by the province. Construction, something in the range of $100 million. Indirect refers to all those tradespeople that come to the community and are buying meals and gas and accommodations and supplies and all the other spending that can occur around the project. Something in the range of $125 million of spending. Afterwards, in terms of full-time employment, when the home is up and running, something in the range of $9 to $10 million of wages. That's probably something in the range of 3 to 4 million more than the current home. So it will be a pretty significant economic boost to the community. And there will be an increase in local purchasing. That's everything from coffee and donuts, so to speak, but also there's some local supply arrangements. Could be snow removal, landscaping, local goods and services. So there should be quite a significant economic and social benefit to the community. We have had great success with local training programs here and hiring programs, including partnerships with the community college, and we anticipate those will continue. So we do have a higher Nova Scotia first approach. In some communities, because there simply isn't enough population, we've had to also pursue some immigration. Because of the size of this project, it's not our intent, but sometimes we end up having to do so. As I mentioned, there has been some great success with some of the new programs for CCAs and LPNs based out of the community college system. But it is likely that we will still have to have some immigration and that the corresponding service supports that are needed, transportation and housing, will become factors for the community. They are not necessarily our direct responsibility, but we do act as a facilitator, obviously because they're our employees. So in Mahone Bay, we did purchase housing for a number of our employees and they became tenants, and we got into micro transit and a number of other services to try to connect them, daycare services, among other things.
Interesting.
Okay. We also, as a company, seek to engage in a local, what we call a community impact project. That could be everything from sponsoring local teams to helping rebuild playgrounds to establishing Meals on Wheels programs. We work with the community to determine community needs. And then as a private company, we seek to support that through the nursing home. We'll be looking for land, 10 to 15 acres. The requirements by the province, the land needs to be serviced, water, sewer, power. It's actually a requirement now that we have fiber optic to the homes. Fire services are a significant piece. The wildfires taught us a lot of lessons. We had to evacuate a number of homes. So there are additional requirements around access to the site and the ability to have responders on site and help with evacuation. So those are all criteria that we'll be working with the municipality, town and municipality, to determine what the level of services are that are available and if there's augmentation that may be needed. For example, in Mahone Bay, we built a 3-story building. They needed to have participated in the funding of that ladder. We work hard on green spaces and try to be good neighbors. We tend to be pretty quiet, but nonetheless, construction can be aggravating for a community, and we work with the community to try to minimize those impacts. That could be hours of work, hours of construction. So we have limitations of that. So in the summer, if you're coming home from work and the neighbors don't want to hear construction while they have their barbecue, we had a restriction that all work had to be finished by 5 o'clock. Those are the sorts of things that we'll be looking to engage with you on to determine what might be expected of the community and what might be reasonable in terms of what's required for the construction site. We are awaiting formal notification to get started. We have not received that yet. We are anticipating to receive that in the next couple of months. And we go through a very extensive space and design process. It's all guided by the province. As I mentioned, we have a number of other homes, including Mahone Bay that just opened, and we make those available for tours. So the folks from communities like yours that are going to be receiving a home can actually go to an existing home to see what it's going to look like. The Shelburne Council, for example, went to Mahone Bay so they could see what their new home was going to look like. Couple schematics. This is actually Shelburne. Those tall 4 windows on the inside, that's going to be an upside down dory, a wooden dory. There's a history of dory construction in Shelburne. So we look for a project in each community that we can honor the history and the heritage in the building itself.
Interesting.
In Glace Bay, The opening has a very tall tower-like structure. It's a sun chute, but it's meant to mimic a mine shaft, the history of mining in Glace Bay. So we look to incorporate things from a design perspective that honors the local history. Here you see a representation of the internal area. Obviously, a lot of natural light is very key. Our residents now tend to be more acute, not quite as mobile. The ability to interact with inside, outside is pretty important to us. Couple more representations just to try to give you a sense of what it is. This is a layout. This isn't necessarily going to be the exact layout, but it's one that was approved by the province. It'll probably be pretty close to this. You can see quite obviously it's a couple of wings. That's the resident wings with a central service core, if you will. Couple others, you can see we make use of balconies. Again, lots of emphasis on outdoor spaces, glass, common areas, green spaces. I hope that was a helpful overview. I'm sure you have questions, and I would like to offer the opportunity to assist either myself or my colleagues. I will just mention one other quick point. You've likely heard we've been very supportive of some local efforts around a hospice initiative. We can, that's part of the reason why I asked Ken to be here with us tonight. Ken's very closely associated with the hospice, as you likely know. We continue to work closely with them. There has been no commitment by the province, but we're very hopeful. But again, I don't have anything tangible to offer at this point.
Thank you.
Happy to take
Thank you
questions.
very much. That was very fast and very good. So who would like to start with questions?
You said you need 10 to 15 acres, that might be difficult within the town, so do you have a site you're thinking of, or?
So we have done some initial work just to understand a little bit better what's available, and we hire an external agent who canvasses both private, in other words, it may not be for sale, but it might be something that oftentimes in rural areas, and I mean with this with the greatest respect, sometimes farmers or folks who are landholders are prepared to split off pieces. So we do approach off-market properties.
Okay.
But our experience so far, and please understand this is only preliminary, doesn't seem to be a lot of options in the town itself. So it's likely we're going to be in the municipality. And outside in the municipality, as you can probably appreciate, the service areas are also somewhat limited.
They're pretty much right next to the town.
Yeah. So please don't interpret that as a firm position.
No.
We have to go through a process to identify. Yeah.
Other questions? Anybody else have questions?
I'm thinking about, housing for employees. It's probably one of the biggest things that came up in my mind when you were talking about it. And also, healthcare for the residents, with an increase of residents and healthcare for them.
Yeah, thank you. Quite right. The good news is that since the first projects occurred, our Mahone Bay project happened to be one of the first ones. Metagan was one of the other first ones. The good news is that the province has learned a lot of lessons from those two projects, including housing. In most of the smaller communities in which homes are being built, there simply isn't availability, particularly when you start talking about 40 or 60 new people who may be also families. So you could actually be talking about 80 or 100. So the province, working with the Housing Authority and the Nova Scotia Housing Trust, are much more actively involved, including with the operators, to establish housing in advance. So we are actually working with developers now so that our construction project in Shelburne lines up with a construction schedule for housing. I'm anticipating we're probably going to have to do that with this project too.
And microtransport, you would mention.
Yes, indeed. So sometimes we will purchase an 18 seat or a 24 seat, but what we're finding is, and again, I'm offering this as our experience in other jurisdictions. We're finding that communities are often very interested in microtransit. So rather than us owning and operating a bus, we're finding there's lots of willingness to talk with municipal units and local not-for-profits who are much more interested in owning that asset so they can serve a broader population. And then we just simply need access to it for specific times. So yes, we are increasingly finding ourselves getting involved in microtransit.
Interesting.
Yeah, but for housing, as an employer, we don't make an offer unless we can ensure sure that there's settlement capability.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of how we conduct our business.
And the healthcare issue?
Yeah, so there, I would say our experience is a little more mixed because we do not have rights and privileges, so to speak, any different than any other Nova Scotian. And so some of the pressures that are being felt in the system are also felt by our employees. I would say what's perhaps more encouraging for Annapolis is we have a very strong partnership with a provider who happens to also be a tenant and happens to have had wonderful success recruiting a number of physicians. And we are actively seeking to try to support that because that obviously helps serve our employees and our residents. So anything you can do to continue to encourage, we would be greatly appreciative.
I could just chime in there briefly. It's so I know everybody knows I'm retiring end of March as for regular practice, but I do intend to continue doing some long-term care. Also working with Dr. Stone and Dr. Aikman Green, who are obviously in the office. They are also interested in taking on roster, so splitting the roster of the existing nursing home. We also have a PA coming in June who wants to do long-term care. She would very much like to contribute to some of that. So with that, we certainly have more than enough capacity to be able to handle the new build as opposed to, I mean, we have, it's a third, roughly almost third or half of what we have. 96 we'd be going to, and we have 60 some out there now, 64, something like that. So I just wanted to show you we have capacity there. On top of that, we have capacity to, so the resident who is now Emily Collis, who is from Newfoundland, not the Emily Pye that many of you might have known from Newfoundland from previous, but Emily Collis, but who has already bought a place in town. She and her husband are staying, and they've indicated they would like to stay. And considering we will have another resident with us, a medicine resident, that gives essentially, we'll have, that's 2 new docs and a PA, which will be essentially equivalent to a nurse practitioner, to add to the existing 2 full-time NPs and 2 other physicians who are there. And we still have 2 part-time docs, myself and Malcolm. So yeah, we got a full bunch who should be able to contribute, I think, and we'll work on what exactly that will require to cover off the staff and so on.
Other questions? Heather, go ahead.
So you said a decision hasn't been made about the current facility and what would happen once the new facility is built, so whether or not that would still be maintained as an existing long-term care home?
Let me just explain. So we're plus or minus 3 years out. Sorry, what I mean by that is once the provinces start, it's roughly 3 years to opening.
Right.
During that 3 years, a minimum of 1 year in advance of opening. So in this case, we're talking 2031. They have to declare what their intended use is. So they have to give you a year's notice if they want it. And essentially during that time, they shop it around the other departments. Do you need it for childcare? Do you need it for affordable housing? Do you wish to continue to provide long-term care beds or convert it to some alternative level care or a foot clinic? Or so they shop it around in government, determine if they wish to have it. If they don't, they turn it back to the operator at that point. And then we have the opportunity to go and establish services in the community from that bill.
Is there any risk of tenants that are currently using the space, like the medical practice or the physiotherapy clinic, about losing that as rental space for their practices?
Yeah, so I don't think so. I mean, I can't speak for the businesses.
Right, yeah.
You just heard, I mean, they're expanding quite a bit. They will need space that perhaps we aren't able to fully provide. You know, we're not that big either. But having said that, the new home is not likely to be built with tenant spaces. Right. It's going to focus on care. So will the existing home continue to be a landlord? But yeah, I suspect it will. Yeah, that will answer your question. Okay. Never say never, but
No, it's certainly not there are answers that can be.
it's a pretty good building, so I think there should be some use. like I say, I'll be surprised if there's not, it doesn't continue in some way to provide care services.
I think recently down the French Shore, when there was that swap around, exactly the same thing, they basically turned that into a transitional care unit. Rather than task the hospitals with doing that, so if they shut that transitional care, it will completely clean out Solid Memorial for acute care, instead of being 50% long-term care. So that would be huge, really,
Yeah.
if they did that. So.
Other questions from members of council?
All my questions were answered by others.
I have a question for you. Have you looked at the property that used to be the cadet sailing property just by the causeway? It's
Yes.
over 10 acres. Oh, so you have.
In fact, my colleague pointed that out to me the other day, and so we have to go look at it because access to that site, there's something about it that I remember we have to get some follow-up on, but
Yes.
question is, like, it's just a little bit small, like we tend to need 11 to 15, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 10.
Yes. It's a, just
it's
10, I think it's 10.8 to be
10.8,
exact.
yeah.
So we have to,
Across from the fire station.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah,
water all around it.
Being close to town, or people want to see their family.
Yeah.
members.
yeah.
Anyway,
It is
just
close
putting
to
it out there.
It is close to the water.
Did you have a point you wish to make?
Just a quick one, if you don't mind. Yeah. So I'm happy to come back anytime, and I'll leave my contact information, so please feel free to ask. What you can expect as we get a little bit closer is, we will be coming back more formally to say, here's the process, here's information we may require around land and zoning. That's what would happen next. And also open houses where we invite the community to come and hear about the proposal and take feedback at that time.
Good, so we hope you'll seriously consider the town.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have much to offer. Well, thanks all of you for coming. We really enjoyed the presentation. Thanks for sending the material ahead of time. And we'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks all. Thanks. So, Roger, unless you're here to provide us with public input, this is your opportunity.
I want to pitch you on being very aggressive since McLeod group. Find a spot on this side of the line.
Just at the right time, we came in on cue. Good. Yeah. Well,
We agree. Thank
This
you.
side of the line.
Yeah.
This side.
I hear you.
That's how you.
Public Works will be out there to paint the line, yeah.
Because there are some properties that are adjacent to the marina area. Just saying,
Okay.
not saying, just saying.
We'll talk to the ducks, yeah. Okay, so
Or there's a
next,
well, there's a way.
well, you're absolutely right. So next we have the very interesting recreation strategic plan, and notes here to talk about that. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. I submitted this document to you, if that's all right, but I do want to do some quick overview of it for the sake of the record and for anybody who's watching. This is a 27-page strategic document for the town that's being considered for adoption and approval for tonight. So just try to keep this in 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll have to. So my name is Noah Scanlon. I am the active living coordinator and municipal physical activity leader for the town of Annapolis Royal. My position, just so everybody knows, and it's partially funded by the province of Nova Scotia, hired by the town, but with half of that funding coming from the province, which with it comes a set of mandates. One of them is to provide an active living strategy for the town of Annapolis Royal that's to be approved and renewed every 5 years. Active living is part of my title, part of the strategy. What is it? Active living is an update from the old physical activity guidelines we used to use. And it is a holistic and self-managed approach to well-being that incorporates physical activity into one's daily life. My mandate is to work in communities, developing strategies, community partnerships, working with staff, council, and external resources to help create active communities, since that's a very key ingredient in keeping them healthy and strong. The document I've submitted is an active living strategy to help accomplish this. It's split up into early on a high-level executive summary. If anyone wants to read the first few pages, that will give you a clear picture of what it is trying to accomplish. And it gets pretty granular after that with the findings from various community consultations, recommended mandated sources, and then an outline that focuses on 4 key elements. Those are some ways to support individuals, ways to develop the social environment, developing the physical environment, which is roads, trails, sport and recreation facilities, and a community that's just generally safe for everyone to walk and move around in and accessible. And then working with staff and council on policy and general operating procedures that supports all of these things. So beyond that, I break things down into a 5-year proposed action plan of good things we can implement in the community. A high-level work plan that doesn't really commit too much to one thing, but really focuses on key strategies to getting these things in place and helping to move all the good ideas in the strategy forward. And then at the end, there are some supporting documents and lots of links to things like the community profiles, the consultations, and then other resources and agencies that help provide information to support this. This document, once we review it and hopefully get it approved, it can be reviewed at any time and updated if necessary. And it's mandatory that it is renewed every 5 years with my rural province. I'm happy to say this is the second time I've done one of these. I'm in my 10th year here now. And this one's much better than the first one. The reality of working here is much different than after we've been here for a couple of years. And with great ideas and things, but now it really focuses on partnerships and things that already exist and like different groups, right down to different people actually that are beneficial to the community. And I think that's one of the most important things we need to preserve around here is keeping our relationships among each other very strong. Everything else good will come from that. And at that point, I'd just like to open it up to discussion on the document. I can start off with one that Amory already mentioned to me that I thought was excellent, was the link to the participation. What's it called? The Participation Community Challenge. It's not mentioned in the document. I didn't know about it, so thank you for doing that. But I would propose adding it into the document. Every June, they do a community challenge to see who is the most active community in Canada. And I think there's some funding available to help support this. And I plan to put it on page 17 with my supports for individuals is something fun we could do to try and really kind of kick this thing as well. So I thought that was a great suggestion, and that was just a good example of the type of input I'm looking for before we hopefully move this towards getting it approved and passed.
Great, well, I'm going to throw it to who's going to start.
I've got a couple
Okay,
of
go ahead.
questions. One is pretty simple. For council, it would be on page 32 of 81 of our package. For you, Noah, that would be page 5.
Okay.
It says in the second paragraph, incorporating 150 minutes of daily physical activity for adults. When I looked that up online, it actually says 150 minutes a week for adults.
That's right.
That's
It is
the
150.
outdated, those are the outdated guidelines.
Outdated. You're saying?
We've amended, those are the old guidelines.
Oh, okay. That was what was on the website now.
That was in previous documents, so that is what's currently approved. This document does amend those. Those have been approved to be pretty ambitious. Instead of doing like 150 minutes per week of vigorous activity, the whole strategy has shifted provincially to trying to just incorporating small bouts of movement per day.
Okay, I was just referencing the Canada website, which basically said that it was 150 minutes of physical activity weekly for adults in at least 10-minute bursts.
Okay.
That's what's on the Canada website. So if that's different, that's fine. And then on page, for council, it would be 51 of our document. For you, it would be page 24. This is in reference to the information around the surveys, the Community Engagement and Recreation Survey, I think it was. So when I clicked through to look at that and look at that information, I was quite surprised that there wasn't a specific question about place of residence, given the issues that we face in our community of whether it is residents and ratepayers using our facilities or whether it's county residents using our facilities. So the only point I wanted to make about that was that perhaps in future surveys, we could just simply have a very clear question. Where do you reside within the town of Annapolis Royal, within the county of Annapolis, but outside of Annapolis Royal, or a visitor from outside of the town or county?
Was this the
MPAL.
The MPAL. So,
Yes.
yeah, because it basically just, it was,
Yes.
the information was too general and so you can't tell from that.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Given out at the gym to listen to
Yeah.
everything, and it should have been narrowed down.
Yeah, so that was my only other bit of feedback.
Close the data and then you can sort it and analyze it both ways, right?
Yeah.
Who's next?
What's your plan for communication for all those programs, since I think Facebook's falling in disfavor?
Do have a website, everything. And then the first section of this with the supports for individuals, there is a big wave of new products that I want to get out. Some new paper products and online distribution that we can do, as well as just straight up in person, doing 20-minute presentations to various businesses and community champions and people who can help get the word out. We're lucky that we're small enough that we can be grassroots and word of mouth. And beyond that, it's just trying to, like, with the paper version of our walking map, redirect to our town website. I'm with you. I do not like relying on social media as, a proxy for our information. I would be more than happy to do it directly and.
It's just one more tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, I'd rather go straight, people come straight to the source, which,
Mhm.
and even to the point of just call me, is the ideal. But that's the main plan, is the promotional materials with a redirect to our actual.
Can they text you? Young people don't call.
You can text me. I promise.
Call anybody.
I promise I'll text you back.
Who's next? So,
Sure. Well, just one thing, general comment, I didn't notice anything that really mentioned dance as an activity strategy. For some people, that's less intimidating than formal sport, so it might be something to consider. For other people, it's more intimidating, but it's just especially for young people, I think sometimes a good way to get them involved.
That wasn't something on either of the surveys either, was it?
You did mention something about in the plan about non-competitive
It would
sports.
fall under that umbrella, but I do like the idea of actually
Yeah.
just calling it what it is.
And we do have some dance resources in the community, so there's a number of different ones, both adult and youth.
and it is exercise.
Sure. You've ever seen Darlene's group go on,
Yes.
like they are,
That's what I was thinking.
they are impressive.
And they do use the space then.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so,
they're in there.
so they're already in there, and so incorporating that into.
Just
Yeah.
to get.
Yeah.
In section 2 is that.
Yeah, trans world dance, yeah.
Give you more information.
Yeah.
Our Sparkle Dance Academy,
They're in, Plymouth Bay.
but they perform at the theater here, so I mean.
Just to make sure they're okay with being featured in this.
And Councillor Sadkowski, you're next.
I have a few more. I'm not meaning to be tough, just, the other thing, and I'm not sure that it's something that really needs to be mentioned here, but I'm thinking about, I saw a kid riding from school here over the causeway, and I know you've had some discussions with people.
I was with them one day.
Yeah, we need to think about that as how do we create that as a safe way for kids to get to and from school? Because that's a great way for kids to get exercise. But I don't know if that's part of what should be here, so I'll just.
It's not part of this document, but I can speak to it if that's all right quickly. So do have the consultation that was done by Bicycle Nova Scotia. We have the new cycling infrastructure, which is on record and have it, it's available. Great. That goes from Highway 201 to the traffic light, and then from the traffic light along this side of the road as far as the fire hall. Those were the boundaries we chose to address just from a feasibility standpoint, because the causeway is a very tricky situation in a lot of ways. But I agree with you, if there's an elephant in the room for safe biking, that's it.
Yeah.
The rest of it is all pretty, as you know, I ride a bike all over all the time. This town is pretty friendly, could be better, but I think back and count a lot worse. But I'm a very experienced rider and that causeway frightens me.
Yeah, and, you know, think about if it was kids, but wouldn't it be great if our kids could ride their bikes to school?
So I agree.
Yeah, so then my other thing was you made a statement earlier in, I'm looking at page 13, but don't reference it. That you wanted to create a safe and welcoming environment for certain groups. And one of the ones that you had mentioned was girls 6 to 8. And I didn't see anything specific.
That is a great grade 6 to 8 girls. Since the time that I've started here, it's been a push from the province.
Yeah.
Girls in that grade is just historically at this point, the age where girls become less active. They become self-conscious and competitive sports aren't always appealing. So there's always been a push in finding activities.
Yeah.
A great one we used to do that we're not currently, but I would love to get going again are things like, it was called the Young Outdoors Women Program.
Remember that? Yeah.
It was awesome.
They used to come to the train station.
They've been doing wild things. Katie is an exceptional talent.
Yeah.
Shooting. Camping. And so that's why that target group is mentioned. The province, I don't have, but we still think it's important just to have that as something that we all support.
Yeah, and I think as the COVID kids that head into that age group, like they're even more at risk, I think. So anything both from a mental and physical health that we can do to help them, I think is important.
It's called. Disruptive and.
Well, and also for, you know, those groups, because that's when they were not in school, when they would have been learning social skills that would help them to feel more comfortable in some of these environments. I suspect it's something we need to think about very seriously. No, I won't say more. That's it.
I still consider that a big priority, even something with like, with the new playground that's going in the spring, there was a great study that we found online that swing sets are a huge attraction to girls at that age because they can sit on a swing and casually swing and socialize and be out together.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, fun, but it's activity and it's engagement. So that's something we considered with this new playground, just to make sure it's still cool.
Yeah.
And Councillor Stankowski.
Yeah, well, first I just want to say this is a really great report.
Yeah.
Had a lot of work. It's very clear that a lot of work went into drafting this and just want to say thank you for that. Is there any intent with the MPAL of sort of doing it on a regular basis? Because I know it was done obviously last in 2022, 2023. And I know in around 2021, there's a huge surge of young families coming to the area. So, you know, I know that there's a lot of kids sort of ages 4, 5 and under that are now new to the community. And I think that they're, you know, as a parent myself that lives in the community, there's not a ton of sort of organized activities for that sort of age range. So we end up having to, you know, drive to Middleton to do the gymnastics program. So I just think it'd be really wonderful with having the gymnasium space if we could do a few more activities in the evenings or weekends, just to sort of hit that sort of age group.
That's fine. This is no policy, but something I just do. And it's, if a group contacts me and says, wouldn't it be great to have this? I say, can you get 8 people, 8 parents, 8 kids together that will commit to doing it? And then I try to make it happen. What you're talking about is absolutely true. It's it doesn't exist because this before the pandemic, even there were 16 kids.
Yeah, exactly.
As things have certainly changed at that point. So I would go back to call me on the phone or email me and we'll make something like that happen. It's as simple as that. You got a benefit if it speaks. But yeah, I agree with you. That'd be great to do. The gym is always a tap dance of scheduling. But I do tend to keep Saturdays open without any regular programming scheduled. Either open for special, like new initiatives like that, or things for kids who are in school, or parents who work. So that would be an option off the top of my head. Exists.
Set something up.
Set something.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
Does anybody else have any questions? So I too thought it was a great report, but when I read through it, I thought it fits perfect with participation because it involves everybody. I thought the nursing home could be involved, all the seniors up there, because they're on a point system and they love that. They've increased in class size because they're on a point system. So just the recording of time would help everybody. So I thought it was a great report too.
They're very much on my list to reconnect with. I have not since before the pandemic because, distancing and things like that. I used to meet with their, for the health of it group would come with me and I'd do events and talks with them and I'd go and speak with them and try to figure out what works for everyone. So this, when the new materials are going and weather turns a little bit, I'm happy to go there, engage with them, get them involved.
I want you and the county to show up for when the first person hits 80 classes. They have to go, okay, they'll invite you. Well, that was great, Noah. Anything more that you wanted to say?
When consultations things, when it's done and staring back in the face, it's a really useful thing. This template of what things down in that need to be focused on top of just the day-to-day activities of the job. So I'm hoping to get it approved and start checking boxes instead of just sitting in draft form, which it has been for a while.
Well, I think we need a motion to that effect.
We do.
We have a motion. So could we have a mover to start with? Someone who agrees with the report.
I'll go right ahead there. I move that council approve the active living strategy for the town of Annapolis Royal dated January 9th, 2025.
Seconded by the deputy mayor. And I'll restate it because that's what I'm required to do. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the active living strategy for the town of Annapolis Royal dated January 9th, 2025. And we'll now vote. All in favor?
Okay.
It's unanimous. We all liked it. Motion carried. We love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for the great piece of work.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Noah. Very. Perfect. Yeah, we know how easy to complete these formats are.
Action item 6.2.
Exactly. That's a grant application. So next on our agenda is the solar electricity for community buildings pilot program. So we received the information in the package. Thanks, Noah.
Thank you, Norm.
So Mayor Boyer asked this to be added onto the agenda. We also talked about this a little bit at the Environment Advisory Committee. The project is a zero interest loan for municipality or community buildings. So just wondering if there is any interest on moving forward.
So it's a zero interest loan, but the cost is entirely borne by municipalities unless we find other grants
Yeah.
that could tie it together. Is that, just making sure I understand.
Got
it. Okay.
And I will just, so we have a number of grants out right now for the shoreline restoration.
Mhm.
So there will be 4. If we get that project, I'm not sure if we could handle
We have the capacity.
to, handle anything else, but we don't know if we're gonna get those grants. So
No, at this point, we don't know.
So,
And do we know if this is meant to be like
solar garden.
well, is this meant to be like an ongoing So if we can't do, like, if we don't have the capacity to tap into it now, can we revisit it and tap into it in 2026 or 2027?
They just extend it by a year at a time.
By a year at a
The
time.
information
Okay, I
that I
understand.
had, so it's available now, and I'm not sure if it'll be available.
It was available at the outset, then
Yeah.
they canceled it, now they bring it back, so just to let you know that it exists.
They do seem very flexible in that it says even if you're approved and you change your mind, there's no penalty. They just ask you to let them know so that they can reallocate the participation to somebody else.
And it is for a garden though, right?
Yeah.
Community garden, so you'd have to have the location to put the garden.
Do we have such a location?
I understood this one's on the rooftop.
Yeah, buildings.
But not a solar garden.
But
This
there's
is
new
different.
ones, there's new ones.
So from the research that we had staff look into, that this for a municipality, it would have to be a solar garden. And then we would sell like a percentage of back to residents who wanted to buy into the program, right?
Can we get a presentation?
I'm not sure who from.
Oh, Chris
Nova
would do
Scotia
it from
Power?
Halifax Solar.
Halifax Solar.
Yes, he's from Port Wade, he's local, very accessible.
Is there a deadline for the application?
Yeah.
No, I think it's like isn't it like an ongoing
Year by
one?
year.
It's ongoing, yeah.
Um, But I'm not sure if, because he is like trying to sell the product, if he's the right
Neutral enough.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were pointed out, so when I talked to the county representatives, a few people have dealt with solar because of their homes.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with one counselor and I had the guy in just to see, and we talked about our house and we're in the program, on the program. He's being referred to the condo, so they're just looking around because they have other issues too. It's the same as for the town. They have lots of stuff, but they're considering it there. But what was good about it was he knows what's being done in Vermont, for example.
Yeah.
So he scouted the town. He said, for example, if you wanted to build, for a long time, we wanted to cover the market in Kent. So he showed standalone structures for solar gardens that municipalities are building.
Mhm.
And they're standalone and they can offer a roof, for example, or for the amphitheater. So it's a long shot for us because we're not in a financial position. But there's nothing wrong with hearing them out if that's what council wanted to do. But the nice thing about Halifax Solar is because of their experience, they take everything from point of inception through to permitting, like they know how to install. So for example, for our home, we've already been referred on for the heat pump program, which they do not administer, but they walk you through the whole process. So the energy audit, and then you go through stepwise, but the beauty of it is you're not dealing with 7 or 8 people anymore. You're dealing with the process.
So, the residents, like, I understand that the residents can tap into the system and take whatever percent they want. But what I really want to know, why I want a presentation, is to find out how does that, I think residents would be interested, how's that going to affect my bill? I know you're going to get credits, but are you able to tap into the solar power for your power in your home? Like how much? And well, what are the cost savings? What is the potential save? That's what I really want to know. Some real time, how is it going to affect
Exactly.
residents that want to subscribe to the program?
Halifax Solar is on their list of.
They have a good
Approved,
reputation.
Of approved people in the directory for the solar NS. So they're on the list. It's not as though they're a random.
So we would have to choose one of these guys anyway, wouldn't we?
Or you
At
could
the end of the
Or
day.
you could see
Yes.
2 presentations if you're just interested in thinking about solar.
Yeah.
They're anxious to make presentations, obviously,
Yes.
for business
He's,
reasons.
he's pretty knowledgeable. We had him come and look at our house and he has been very patient with a lot of back and forth and did not put any pressure on us at any point about, and answered all kinds of crazy different ideas and things. So if we need to include more than one person to give fair balance, maybe that makes sense, but I would agree, he's very knowledgeable and could maybe propose some interesting out of the box solutions.
So I think it's just in the ideas thing, in the back of your mind, so if we treat it as an educational opportunity or, just explore it. Sandy's right, we have huge projects on the go.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we can get ourselves educated.
Exactly, we can get up to speed.
The one, and maybe I'm just confused by what you were just asking about and saying versus what I was reading at the website in the materials. Because they're talking about selling back whatever you produce to the grid.
Yes.
So they're not talking
Yeah,
about producing it for use of the residents. They're just talking about
Selling
selling it back to the grid.
Yes.
And so it creates a potential revenue stream once it pays itself off.
So it's not a big savings on your bill.
No, it's not about savings on a,
Becoming more green as a town.
yeah, it wouldn't be about residential savings or anything like that.
You're
Yeah.
right, you have to do your own, like we are
Yeah.
doing for our own.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're looking into too. So,
Yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I was reading that right because I thought, wait a second. It doesn't
And
actually
it's
cover.
interesting that he's covering like domestic and like for the condo, he seemed to be the guy. Well, actually, there was another person that he's referring for the condo. But he was very good at plugging us into whoever had to talk to, depending on who it was. So he's very interested in the fire department, for example, and so we let them know and they're going to explore it. So
I mean, we'd have to see a big return on that investment.
we would.
So basically no power bills. Kind of like what happened up at the sewer where they're saving money.
Yeah.
That's what we would want to
We
see.
paid a minimum $24 a month now.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
$24, yeah, that's what we want to see.
And he
Yeah.
went around and
Just talk to
explored all
someone.
these roofs.
Yeah.
He explored them, yeah.
So it might be interesting to talk to someone from Berwick because they sort of
Yes.
did this on.
They did their own, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
But the
But that's not
province
the
has,
program.
yeah,
That's not the program, though.
the
No.
province has said there is no more, they will not approve any more municipal utilities. So we wouldn't be able to go the route of Berwick, but we might be able to learn something about their solar field that they've created, just in general.
But we could partner with Berwick.
Yeah, we could.
They have, as long as we partner with the utility, we're.
Yeah, they exist. We don't have to become one ourselves.
So if there's interest in.
Absolutely, I'm interested in hearing every single option.
Yeah.
In the meantime, while these guys are busy with other stuff, we can educate ourselves.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel too, is that I'd be interested in
Sounds
learning
good.
more, but I don't think we have the
Some
capacity
education
right now.
Yeah, totally agree. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay. And then in your package, you have appointments that need to be made to the IDEA committee. IDEA is inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility.
Anti-racism.
And was there a particular recommendation, like how did it come that for the appointments of that committee?
So you approved in December, if I recall, you approved
It was December.
the format, the program for the idea. And under that, it states that everybody has to have a governance committee, and it states who's on the governance committee. And so the governance committee is meeting next week to appoint the members of the public that have submitted their names forward.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move the council approves the appointment of Mayor Emery Boye and Deputy Mayor Sybil Skinner Robertson to be representatives for the IDEA Governance Committee for a term of 3 years until December 1st, 2027.
I'll second that.
All right, I'll restate it before the vote. The council approved the appointment of Mayor Emery Boye and Deputy Mayor Sybil Skinner Robertson to be the representatives for the IDEA Governance Committee for a term of 3 years until December 1st, 2027. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you, folks. Okay, so we can move on to unfinished business, and we have recommendations from committees, boards and commissions. So who's starting today?
I can start. Okay, so I move the council approves to readopt the travel policy 2024-07 dated June 20th, 2024.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Was there still?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, and I'm going to restate it. That council approved the readoption of the travel policy 2024-07 dated June 30, 2024. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Next.
I move that council approves to repeal council remuneration policy 2013-2 dated June 8, 2013 and replace it with the council remuneration policy 2025-02 dated January 2025.
I'll second that.
Thank you, and I'll restate it. The council approved the repeal of council remuneration policy 2013-2 dated June 8, 2013, and replace it with the council remuneration policy 2025-02 dated January 2025. All in favor? Motion carried.
I move that council approves to repeal hospitality policy dated January 24, 2019, and replace it with the hospitality policy 2025-01 dated January 2025.
I'll second that.
I'll restate it. The council approved the repeal of hospitality policy dated January 24, 2019, and replace it with the hospitality policy 2025-01 dated January 2025. All in favor?
Right.
Aye, motion carried. Excuse me.
I move that council approve to repeal the council expense policy 2009-3 dated April 20th, 2009.
I'll second that.
And I'll restate it. The council approved to repeal the council expense policy number 2009-3 dated April 30th, 2009. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. We'll move on to Marketing and Economic Development Committee. Who's next?
No, she just did that.
Oh, sorry. I thought there's gonna be discussion.
Yeah, I thought so too. Okay.
Well, you have to have the motion on the table first.
Okay,
Right.
yes, sorry. So I guess I'll move that council approve version 6 of the mandate of the Annapolis Royal Twinning Committee with Royal France dated January 2025.
Do we have a seconder? All right, any discussion?
It's been discussed rather a lot.
Version 6 says it all, right?
Exactly. I think we've really discussed that.
But that's not medic. So not all counselors attend those meetings.
Right, so if you have questions, I know it was in your package. It was a long thought, word for word discussion, long word for word discussion. So congratulations. I do not need to restate it. All in favor? Aye, motion carried. Thank you. And motion 6.
So I move that council approve the appointment of at least 2 members to the Town Twinning Committee for a term ending on December 31st, 2025 with signing authority, and to authorize 1 member for online banking for a Royal Community account at the RBC in Annapolis Royal to be set up as soon as possible.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Maybe just one thing to clarify, it's appointment of 2 members of the Town Twinning. So, because otherwise it sounds like we might be wanting to appoint council members, and that's not the
And
case.
if there's any confusion for the people who aren't on medic, the Twinning Committee does not have members yet in full, but because the bank account is a requirement, we have to have a motion that actually allows for when those members come on board to be appointed to that task. We can't wait until the members come. We have to have that in place first.
So we perhaps should add at least 2 members of council.
No,
No,
2 members
of the Twinning Committee.
so in the first line where it
of at
says
least 2 members of
of the Twinning Committee instead of 2.
Thank you. I knew a word had to.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anything further on this? All in favor?
Right.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you. Very efficient. My goodness, look what time it is. Yes. And now we move on to reports. And you have my report. There's just one thing that's missing from it, and that's at tab 9, sorry. And it's just an information piece that I neglected to put in, but might be of interest to some of you. Find it. It was the Violence Against Women workshop at the Kingston Baptist Church. So I am going to that on the 28th. So just wanted to make sure that you'd all heard about it, in case anybody, so I'll be attending and I'll bring back whatever I can. So that's just amending my report. You have the Chief Administrator's report at tab 10. Do you have any questions for our CAO?
And I will also amend my report because we did not attend the code of conduct meeting on Monday due to the road conditions. And my CAO IMSA meeting that was supposed to be this afternoon from 1 to 4 was canceled because some of the CIOs were not ready to make a recommendation to their councils. So those are 2 changes.
Did have a question, and I just want to make sure that the very last point, working on intact grant for shoreline restoration, and then it says and grant for economic development projects. What economic development project?
So there's an opportunity for the joint working group to do a 3-year project to hire an economic development to do different projects within the communities.
Okay.
It's 100% paid. It's like no contributions. It's 100% grant. So we are working on submitting something to see if we're successful.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for our CAO? She's been busy as usual. Right?
Very busy.
Yes. Okay, great. And moving on from that, planning services report, yeah, you have it in your package. The water reports, we received them all. They're at tab 12, they all look good. And then we have Councillor McDonald, and you've submitted your report. Anything else to add? Marketing and economic development?
No, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Councillor McDonald? Okay. Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee, we have that at tab 13. Any questions for Councillor Myers? All's quiet on the western front, very quiet.
Did we have quorum for that one?
Yeah, we did have quorum. We
But we're
just
still
didn't have
looking for
we,
people.
we didn't have any
Applications.
applications. Thank you. So we used the time to discuss.
I'm just trying to put a plug in for all the committees that were
Yes.
missing
Right.
members on. Is that one of them, Kim?
I do.
No, I think we're full slate there. aren't we?
Medic's missing.
Audit.
Right.
Something.
Okay. Board of Environment.
Oh,
Yeah.
Board of Police, we have Councillor Santilli.
We have not met.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
last, the next meeting is in
Quarterly.
March.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Training Committee, Deputy Mayor
Yeah,
Skinner.
just to say that should actually have gone under medic. I didn't realize that. So,
We were both at fault. We were both confused.
yeah, I did submit, a report if you want to read it, but we'll be taking it to medic next.
Okay. It is confusing when you got subcommittees and subcommittees and subcommittees.
So just quick question about that. So when the next time you just send that to me and I attach it to?
Yeah,
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
We didn't have that report. And we didn't have that before, that link.
Yeah.
So it's a missing link.
Yeah, so typically the twinning report would be on the emetic agenda and you would just report on the whole. Like if
Oh, I
there's
see what you're
anything-
saying. I wouldn't just.
So it's a
add that.
subcommittee. No, it's a
Okay.
subcommittee
So
of,
you've got the
of medic,
detail.
so-
Yeah, yeah.
It's on our-
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And Councillor McDonald sent in a comprehensive library report.
Yeah, so unless there's any questions about that, I would try to provide as much detail because it was the opening of that and because there was some financial numbers that I thought might be,
It
people
was a
might be
great
very.
summary of where we're at for
Yeah.
everybody.
They won't always be that detailed. That's what I'm trying to say.
And the IMSA board, yeah, at tab 14, you now have 2 reports because it used to be that that meeting was always held on the same day. as council.
Mm,
So the staff are getting very wily and getting their stuff in, trying to beat a month. So you've got the latest. That's why you've got 2 reports. So they take the pressure off me having a report for all the rest of the councils, right? Because there's 7 partners. We're going to 9 partners. So for them to do that is big. They're saving us all time.
yeah.
So that's why you're getting that one. So I'm not doing them. The staff over there are. Environment is over to the deputy mayor.
Yeah, so I did submit a report for that. Any questions? Okay. That's it.
And for the Academy Condo Board, I have nothing to report here. Yes. Next, we have Councillor Satkowski for Friends of the Annapolis Police Society.
Yes, so the only addition that I do want to sort of add that I forgot to include in the report is that the next meeting on February 4th at 6 p.m. is going to be their annual general meeting. So they'll be meeting at the community hub in the music room to go over their executive and review reports and everything. So I should have a pretty fulsome update at the next council meeting.
During or after band practice?
Neither.
Well, I have to say congratulations to all of you for getting reports in. Look at this. Just over an hour and you read through a big agenda and all the reports. So it's an impressive piece of work. Thank you.
I apologize to Kim for mine being delayed, but they actually happened after her deadline, so. Or at least one of them happened after her deadline.
It's
so I
all
couldn't-
good, and for a new council, the quality of the information is just great. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
So just for future, if we do attend a meeting where the meeting occurs after sort of the cutoff, what's sort of the protocol?
Still send it to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just doesn't get tabbed in the thing, but it ends up in her package.
Okay.
So our objective is to get as many things tabbed because it makes for very efficient meetings.
Yeah.
But if there's something, if council needs to see it, they need to see it. And reports, I think, are very important.
Yeah, great.
They really give the public an idea of what we're dealing with.
And we clearly all do our reading.
Yeah, it is very clear to me that you do,
I
yeah.
did send an email in all of our calendars.
Yes.
On the Wednesday.
Very much appreciated. I was grateful for that, so thank you.
If there's a meeting that occurs between the cutoff and the council meeting, that you should still submit your report, just so we've got our general
Yeah.
guidelines there for reference.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sybil.
Yeah,
And
thank
you're
you.
also doing all this as you're going through training, so it's no mean feat to get it all in. So, no, I think it's wonderful. Okay, so our agenda, our regular business agenda having been completed, how many people are joined us on Facebook despite our problems with the owl?
I come
Good.
So
Yeah,
I
okay.
can see when I open up,
And thank you for coming, member of the
Yes,
public.
thank you, public.
just let me. pull.
Dean, member of the public who shows up in person.
Give me 1 second and I'll tell you.
Right?
There's currently 4 people watching.
Together soon. So thank you and good night.